And welcome, sports fans, to today's Roundtable. And we are finally at the end. Finally have concluded the winter sports season, and that means high school basketball is in the books for 2020 and 2021 basketball season. And what a season it was. Just thankful that we completed this season. Didn't get that opportunity last year to complete the entire season through the state championships. We did get a couple of those last year, but certainly this year, completing a whole season, including all the state championships, classes 1 through 6. So a successful season, seeing it beginning to end, and certainly heading into the spring sports season, which will have much less challenge, certainly with the outdoors, dealing with the pandemic here, as things are really starting to look a lot better, certainly at the local and even national and global level. Hopefully we're on the back end of this pandemic, and as soon as we get this school season over, the school year over, things like that will be in the past, at least for now, and hopefully we'll never have to deal with this ever again. But certainly a successful season, getting to see the season play out with very little interruption. We saw just a little bit of interruption throughout the year, some cancellations in some games and rescheduled games, some things like that. But it seemed like that winter storm that came in there in February, mid-February, may have did more damage on the season than the actual pandemic. We got wiped out with about a week and a half, 2 weeks worth of games, scheduled them back as much as you could through the end of the regular season and into the state tournaments, wrapped up a fine season and even crowned some champions here in the end, and certainly some all-state selections, which we'll get to in a moment. We're going to wrap up the basketball season. We took a couple weeks off here to handle some things, and then we're going to wrap it up for today, give you all the state champions across the board, as well as the all-state teams for Missouri, and give you the final state polls for each class 1 through 6 here in Missouri, and also give you a look at some spring sports results that took place here in the last few days, as we are well into a couple weeks into the spring sports season with everything going on there. So we're going to wrap up the basketball season today, put a bow on 2020 and 2021 and the successful season we had throughout the area and throughout the state this year. So let's go ahead and get to the state championship games from Springfield. And this is the second year now they're over in Springfield. And taking a look at the Class 1 state championship, the South Iron Panthers coming away with that Class 1 state title and winning that one 69-50, and they've had a dominant season. Much like Campbell, they stepped up, played some bigger schools, not only around the area but across the state. South Iron matched up with some teams out of St. Louis, such as Vashon, really stepped up their schedule and went into that state tournament and just dominated its way through, defeating Mound City and Craig in that state championship game. South Iron's one of the mainstay programs, certainly on the southern half of the state out west, and they've had some great teams over certainly the last 11, 12 years I've been around. They've had some great teams, some number one ranked teams that just fall short getting into the state tournament, even winning a state championship, but finally breaking through this year with a great slate of talent there in South Iron, and Coach Dinkins and the South Iron Panthers win the state championship decisively here this year. And, of course, the Campbell Camels. They are the class of Southeast Missouri this year, winning the state championship and doing it in Class 2 in very dramatic fashion. If you look back into the state tournament, when it coming back from 20 points down in the sectional over in Campbell in a game we brought to you, very dramatic comeback down to the end, a buzzer beater by Blake Fowler to beat the buzzer to win the game, and then from that on, they were pretty much smooth sailing at that point. Defeated Valley Catholic in the quarterfinal, Norwood in the semifinal, and then Salisbury in the championship game, and won that one 67-50, decisive victory for the Camels in that state championship game, and its first ever in its history. Very exciting for the Camels. We've seen this team and this senior class we've seen them over the last 3 to 4 years really develop and advance to each class. And certainly now as seniors with that senior nucleus, putting it together for a great run, capped off with a state championship in Springfield. And congratulations to the Camels. We've been seeing it all year long that they would have the potential and opportunity to make a run at a state title. They swept through the Budo Conference undefeated, won the Budo Conference tournament, and only took a few losses to some SEMO Conference teams. I think it was 3 SEMO Conference teams: Charleston, Sykes, and Notre Dame, and then another one was Scott City that they added to their schedule. So, certainly beefing up their schedule as well. Without adding those SEMO conference schools and those other additions, they could have very well had an undefeated season. Certainly Coach Fowler wanted to prepare as much as possible the kids physically, and certainly when it comes to talent-wise for a state tournament run. Really paid off, and they run away with it in the end with that Class 2 state championship. We've got some highlights queued up here from the championship game, so let's go ahead and go to those. And let's go ahead and okay, we got them queued up here. Let's take a look at the championship game from Springfield. And here we are early on. Skylar Morrison, nice drive to get the Camels started here early in the first quarter. And we see here, this is Jackson King for Salisbury, hitting a nice three on the right side. Here, Carlos Camargo getting a steal, going to take it all the way for the score. Great effort there by Camargo. And we see here, Blake Fowler just casually bringing it up, pulls up for the long three-pointer and nails it. And we see here Jackson King for Salisbury once again, nice nifty move to the basket. And we see here Fowler taking the ball, going to go coast to coast and dish it off for a nice assist there from Fowler. And we see here, nice little drive there. Charlie Parker splitting the defense at the basket for the score. And we see here at the end of the first half, Blake Fowler puts up a runner at the half, beats the buzzer, and a lot of momentum on the Campbell side going into halftime. The Campbell faithful there cheering them on, looking for that state championship here for the second half. We see here assist from Siebert to Fowler for the three. And we see here a nice little up and under move from Fowler. Nice finish as he had a big game. I think he had 26 on the day. Here Fowler at the end of the third quarter to his left, knocking down the three with another buzzer beater. And we see here into the fourth quarter, Salisbury's trying to hang tough. Their best player, Jackson King, fouls out about midway through the fourth quarter. But here Fowler really making his way to that all-state selection. Nice bucket and the foul. A great finish there from Fowler. And here's Fowler, another one. He drives, dishes it off for an easy two. And there you see it, the Camels coming away with the state championship. And a great run for these Camels. And had a great showing in the semifinal into the final game. Cheerleaders done a great job this year as well. They're on hand to celebrate in that state championship. And there's the plight presentation to the team, and fine season by these Camels. You see there's Siebert and now Gavin Biggs, another senior, going to hoist up the trophy as they show it off to their faithful fans that made the trip over. And a great season by these Camels. And as you see here, going to take one more team photo. That's your final team photo that they'll ever take. And what a way to take your final team photo as state champions. You know, a team photo is just a mainstay in sports. You know, we see it from youth all the way up to as far as you can play it. Those team photos are a big deal, especially after a victory. When it comes to tournaments, getting those team photos in the papers and whatnot and online. And there you are. That final team photo is in the books, and it is done as state champions. And well done by the Campbell Camels with that state championship run. We're going to talk more about these Camels later on, as some of those players were selected as All-State and even Coach of the Year. We'll talk more about that in our next segment. But certainly congratulations to the Campbell Camels pulling off a great run. And we were fortunate to follow much of that through the regular season. Had quite a few Camel games this year, certainly in the Boot Hill Conference Tournament, and we followed them much of their state run. The Boot Hill Conference Final, and then their district final, sectional, and quarterfinal along the way. So it was certainly a pleasure to follow the state champions all the way through to the Final Four and seeing them finish with a state championship this season. And take a look at some other championship games. Hartville in Class 3 winning that state championship game, winning that one 43-35 over Monroe City. And very good team there at Hartville this year. And that championship was pretty much won over Greenville earlier in the state tournament. They had the opportunity to play Greenwood. Greenwood. I think that was in the sectional or quarterfinal round. I can't recall quite right there, but it was in the state tournament. Hartville got a narrow victory over Greenwood, who were I believe it was Class 2, defending Class 2 state champions, I believe. And Hartville was defending Class 3 champions. And Greenwood getting knocked out. Aminu Muhammad. Actually, we got Mr. Show Me Basketball, Aminu Muhammad from Greenwood, who's actually going to Georgetown next year to play for the Hoyas in college basketball, and Hartville knocking off them and able to advance on to win the eventual state championship in Class 3 in repeat fashion. And in Class 4, no surprise here, Vashon. The Vashon Wolverines defeats Westminster Christian Academy, and that was by 55-46. The Wolverines victorious in their run once again this year, and this is actually 3 championships in a row, but it possibly could have been a 4th. Last year, the upper classes, classes 4 and 5, were canceled due to the pandemic. They got classes 1 through 3 in, but 4 and 5, they did not participate. And Vashon was in the Final 4, going for a potential 3-peat. And then this year would have been going for a 4th straight championship. But I guess you can call it a 3-peat now this year with an asterisk with a potential 4th championship that Vashon could have pulled off. So this has been quite a run for these Vashon Wolverines, and the Wolverines are back in dominant fashion, certainly playing in Class 4, and look out for the Wolverines. They're going to be a tough program to deal with going forward, especially playing in Class 4. We've actually got a highlight. We haven't had a roundtable since we've had the New Madrid and Vashon game. We went up for the New Madrid County Central and Vashon quarterfinal game. These are the 2 top-ranked teams in the state in Missouri in Class 4, matching up in the quarterfinal round. Game of the year, certainly, when it comes to matchups. Get 2 top-ranked teams in the state playing it in the state tournament. Always a big game. We made the trip all the way up to St. Louis. They're in downtown St. Louis at Vashon High School to show you that matchup, and let's take a look at it now. Let's go to
another turnover for New Madrid coming back the other way. Nicholas Kern, easy layup.
Scoring the transition here.
Nice
drive and putback for the Eagles, getting started.
Jaden Jones goes one-on-one.
Big game, nice jump
And he
shot
gets the
there.
bucket. Trying to get the ball inside. A nice steal there from Vashon.
And we see here a run out by Vashon. And here towards the end of the first, they really start to
Three is good.
Three-pointer in transition for the Wolverines.
Tippler drives the basket, puts up a floater, and it's good.
Down a little runner with the left hand. And
nice drive and finish.
And in the second
Williamson.
Vashon with a 12-point lead. They push it up to 15.
Shot up and good.
Certainly Gilbert.
Three-pointer on the right side.
Shots off the mark. Offensive rebound, though.
Nice little bucket there
Good
off the
for
miss
Vashon.
here towards the end of the first half.
He goes one-on-one.
And
Nice
you see a
pass.
Nice dish off and finish. And another here, nice try.
Oh, what a drive.
All the way to
Wow.
the basket, just a smooth drive right there. And we see here three-pointer
Gilbert
up
for
and
three,
good from
good.
the LV commit. Great talent on this Wolverines team.
Nice move
step
in.
through
Vashon
there,
gets the
finish.
rebound.
And this Wolverines team,
Gilbert.
great inside out. You see there, a step back to the left, knock it down the deep three.
Puts it up and in.
Drives once again as we're into the second half here. Nice little runner there.
Really nice.
And awful tough to stop.
Looking
And
inside to
you see
Jadis. Puts it up.
Jadis
And
Jones
good.
stepping in, knocking down that little high post jumper.
A
Here's
steal
some-
and
At
dunk.
the head of the press, stealing it and jamming it all
Stays
in
with
motion.
Vashon. Kern
And see her
with
again,
the
there's
jam.
Kern with the head of the press, just creating havoc. Another slam dunk. Three-pointer on the right side.
Three-pointer.
Transition. And here we see here James
Gets it up
Jones.
and in.
Nice drive.
Setting it
Big
up where
night
he can
for
go
the
one-on-one.
Eagles. And we see here again a little spin move up with
Drives to the basket.
and he really stepped up for the Eagles, the freshman did, Jadis Jones.
Oh,
And
nice
tough
take.
basket
There to
underneath.
keep the ball
Sean
for New
gets to
Madrid.
go. And I think
Good.
that's-
Nice drive. Wasn't there. Good pass to Donnie Ray Brown.
Gilbert.
Goes past Jones. Nice pass.
And sorry about that, talking over myself there. And we see here, three-pointer on the left side, up and good on the wing. And we see here transition, and Vashon getting a nice bucket in the transition. Donnie Ray Brown knocking down the three late in the game there. Much needed three there, but Jadis Jones hanging tough there, getting a basket in the paint. 20-point game at this point, but Vashon really a lot of talent on the floor, really tough to stop even late in the game. You need stops, and they're still able to put it on. Three-pointer on the left side, and we'll see here, nice drive and finish, and the bucket and the foul. And as you see there, Vashon, you can see why they run away with the state championship. Probably the best team they've saw all year, New Madrid, and they handled quite well. But a great season by the New Madrid County Central Eagles. Their only loss of the year coming to the eventual state champion, Vashon Wolverines and Coach McFerrin and his staff done a great job this year. Had kind of a unique team. You had some really nice, really good players, all-state caliber players as freshmen, and you had some senior leadership there. Some senior players such as Donnie Ray Brown, Kylan Minner, certainly the two that are been in the main mix over the last 2 to 3 years with a lot of experience, varsity experience, and they come together really well. The young freshmen as well as the talented freshmen that have been there for Donnie Ray Brown's been in the varsity picture 4 years now. I think he played a lot of varsity his freshman year. Kylan Minner, I think, starting his sophomore year. So these guys had a lot of experience at the varsity level, and this freshman group coming in, very talented, and it worked great. An undefeated season all the way to the state quarterfinal, and losing to the eventual state champion in Vashon. No shame in that at all. They put forth a great effort, and Jadis Jones really stepped up. Jadis Jones had 22 on the night in that game up there at Vashon, and he really stepped up. That's one thing about Jadis Jones: very talented, very versatile, very skilled. But obviously, no matter, played a lot of zone defenses throughout the year, and he played a lot of low post, played up to the high post. We didn't get to see him out on the perimeter that much due to the fact that they were playing a lot of zone defenses this year. So this game, Vashon playing very aggressive man-to-man defense, really applying a lot of ball pressure, really hassled the backcourt of the Eagles. Jadis Jones was able to step out on the perimeter a little bit and put the ball on the floor, take it to the basket, having a bigger defender on him due to pretty much him and Donnie Ray Brown sharing the court together. So they're going to be drawing some bigger defenders. And Jadis Jones got a great handle. He's able to put the ball on the floor both directions. He's got great size, about 6'5", able to get to basically the high post in. He's a very efficient scorer. So he got to show off his talents, certainly with handling the ball and penetrating and scoring off the dribble. Had a great game. Really stepped up big for the Eagles. But all in all, this Vashon team got a lot. Some of these guys, Nicholas Kern, with a couple of dunks we saw there. He's going to VCU. And the other one there, can't recall his name. It's been a couple weeks out now, but certainly the one hitting the threes with the long sleeve. He's going to UNLV. He's a UNLV commit. So at least a couple Division I talents moving on to the next level, and they got some juniors that will probably certainly move on to the Division I ranks as well in a couple of years. But a lot of top end talent there at Vashon, as always. They're certainly one of the best, if not the best team there in St. Louis, and they show it once again this year. But no matter, another team we followed quite a bit this year, got to show quite a few of their games. Certainly their Dexter District Championship, their Park Hills sectional over there at New Madrid, and with that quarterfinal game with Vashon, they put forth a great effort. Just come up a bit short, but certainly a great season for the Eagles, and certainly a privilege to follow them this year as well. And let's move on to some other championship games. Cardinal Ritter, another St. Louis team that had an outstanding season. They defeat Bolivar for the Class 5 state championship, and that was 66-56. And Cardinal Ritter is one of these teams that really got hit hard with that championship factor in the reclassifications. They really revamped the classifications this year, went away with a multiplier for the private schools, that 1.35 multiplier. They've done away with that, but implemented what they call a championship factor. So basically it's a rolling count of about 5 years, I think, of how they basically assess how well private schools do in district state tournament play. So the farther you go, the more you're penalized, and you are penalized by going up in class, either 1 or even 2 classes. And that's the case this year with Cardinal Ritter. They won the Class 3 state championship last year, if you can recall that. They really put it on a talented Charleston team last year by about 50 points, and had a very talented team. And it looks like they brought a lot of that nucleus back from last year into this year, skipping Class 4 because they went from 5 classes to 6 classes this year. And Cardinal Ritter skipped Class 4, went all the way up to Class 5 because they've done so well here in the last number of years. So they go up all the way up to Class 5 and have no problem. They move on to the Class 5 state championship and win it over Bolivar, and they're certainly sticking up in Class 5. They won't be coming down anytime soon. But Carter Ritter's always been considered one of the smaller half teams in the state. Certainly when there were 4 classes, they were Class 2A. There's 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. They were 2A, and then when they expanded to 5 classes, they were Class 3 at that point, and now they've gone to 6. And that championship factor makes them play up amongst the biggest schools in the state. They're in Class 5 there, and in that Class 5 classification this year. So it just goes to show you this Carter Ritter team, very talented and a great program, and they've really put together a fine number of years. Back-to-back state champions, Class 3, Class 5, back-to-back. So you got to give it to them. Skipping a whole class, going up to Class 5, playing against some much bigger schools. They've done really well. So look out for the Lions. They've already won back-to-back state championships. And in Class 6, the Kickapoo. Kickapoo defeats Liberty, and Kickapoo won 71-62. Very talented team there in Kickapoo. I think they've got 4 Division I commitments on that team, one of which is Isaac Haney, one of the top talents in the state. We saw him quite a bit from a few years ago. He was part of that very talented Dora team. Risco matched up with that Dora team 2 years ago. When they were going for their first state championship there with Dora, and Dora ended up getting second that year. But Isaac Haney, as a sophomore, played like one of the best players in the state already as a sophomore. And then last year, Dora won the state championship, went through Delta in the quarterfinal round, a game we brought to you as well last year in the quarterfinal over Van Buren. And then the team broke up. Then Isaac Haney ends up in Kickapoo out in Springfield, and together with a great team, they go on to win the Class 6 state championship. So Isaac Haney coming off of Class 1, the smallest classification, now to Class 6, the largest classification, winning back-to-back state championships with Dora and now Kickapoo. So pretty impressive couple of years for Isaac Haney, as he will move on to play at Missouri State going forward starting next year. So quite a story there with Kickapoo in Missouri. And also, it's Viola down in Arkansas, the Luna twins, and their father went to Viola down in Arkansas, and they won the Class 1A state championship in Arkansas a few weeks back. So that Dora nucleus, those 4 players, the Luna, or triplets, excuse me, I said the Luna twins, it's the triplets, that nucleus of 4 Dora players, the 3 triplets, Lunas and Haney, winning another state championship this year with their respective teams. So pretty impressive run from that nucleus of 4 players from Dora for sure. And let's move over to the girls in Class 2. The girls' Class 2 state championship, Ellington knocking off Wellington Napoleon to win that girls' state championship 63-56. Impressive run by Ellington, winning out and winning the Class 2 state championship on the girls' side. So that was the one girls' champion we've had here in our southeast region of Missouri, and they had a great run as well. Went through some local teams here, notably Hawkham here locally. So congratulations to Ellington, advancing on to win that state championship. And let's move on to some baseball scores here for the spring. Here, Friday's games. We got Jefferson knocking off Woodland 12-2. Also, we've got Chaffee over Meadow Heights 8-2. Twin Rivers over Malden 11-2. Union over Notre Dame, big. Not big, but 11-8. 11-8 Union over Notre Dame. Lutheran St. Charles over Notre Dame 10-1. Kelly over East Prairie 8-5. Then Farmington over Scott City in a shutout 8-0. And those are your spring baseball results from Friday. We're going to take our first break, and we're going to come back and talk about the basically the headlines coming from the basketball season. Also, we're going to take a look at the all-state teams as well as the final state poll for Missouri basketball classes 1 through 6. And we'll be back with that coming up.
If you or your loved one has disabilities that cause you to need a little help, Boot Hill Area Independent Living Services can provide the assistance you need. At Bales, we want you to have control of your life and assist you in thriving in an independent lifestyle. The Consumer-Directed Services Program allows you, the consumer, to choose who assists you in conducting your daily activities. Bales serves Stoddard, Dunklin, New Madrid, and Pemiscot counties. Call or visit our office in Kennett to see how we can help you maintain your independence.
This is more than a bundle. It's more than a combo deal. It's not just stuff. This is your home, your car. And you want to give them the protection they deserve. With home and auto insurance. State Farm agents get it. It's why they're here.
In Dexter, talk to State Farm agent Chris Brannon today.
And welcome back, and let's take a look at some of the headlines coming from the basketball season. And first, starting off with the year of the Camel. That's 2021, the year of the Camel, and that's the Camels winning its first ever state championship. And we see a lot of that, teams being able to advance on, win their first ever state championship, because it's very rare to win a state championship in any sport. But certainly this year for the Camels, they put it all together in a great run. This was even their first year to win the Boot Hill Conference tournament, a regular season and tournament, although they haven't been in the conference all that long, moving from the Tri-County Conference to the Boot Hill Conference, but winning their first ever conference tournament and conference regular season championship, and on top of that, winning their first ever district championship. Going back to many decades of Campbell basketball, coming up with their first district championship this year, that's a big deal, and certainly in the same year winning your first ever state championship. Just what a run by these Campbell Camels. Coach Steve Fowler's done a great job with this team and this senior team. I think they got 9 seniors, and we've seen this bunch come up for the last number of years. Some of these kids having to play varsity ball in their underclass years. We've seen Blake Fowler start as a freshman for 4 years. That's why he's now the all-time leading scorer for the Camels there at Campbell, and playing varsity ball and starting 4 years. And he's had a great run, and we've seen Caden Siebert step up. I think he started playing varsity as a sophomore year, and others like Charlie Parker, I think he was starting to come into the ranks there at the varsity level, and Skylar Morrison. So these kids they've had quite a bit of varsity experience into their underclassmen years, and now as seniors, they've really developed their talent. Certainly maturing physically surely helps, and playing varsity ball as underclassmen can surely mature you in a lot of ways in that respect alone as well. So great run by these Camels, and we'll talk more about their state or their all-state accolades and Coach of the Year a little bit here just in a bit. But it's worth just staying on the Camels as long as you can here for 2021 basketball. And I think this year, basically the COVID season, Campbell stands out. We've had a couple of teams make it to the Final Four, like Ellington girls, but it was pretty much the Campbell boys kind of owning this season and pretty much putting its stamp on the season as the year of the Camel for 2021. And I think it's fitting for the season this year that the Camel sticks out in the Campbell Camels. And congratulations for another fine season. And you're gonna miss that group. They're all seniors now, moving on. And it's always nice to have a number of players coming back from a state title team to kind of bring back certainly that competitive core, but not the case this year. You got 9 seniors going to be moving on, and a whole different slate coming in next year for the Camels. But that's how it goes. But it's certainly going to miss that core of players battling out in the Boot Hill Conference, and it was just certainly a privilege and a treat to watch this Campbell team compete this year and find their way to a state championship. Just an awesome run, and certainly fortunate to follow it right here on YHC. And let's take a look at some other things to look at in the area. Let's actually go to the polls. Let's go right to the final polls for high school basketball in Missouri. Let's start off with boys Class 1 state rankings. Of course, the top 4 in each class are going to be how they finished there at the state tournament. So you got South Iron over Mound City, and then followed by East St. Elizabeth, Higbee, Golden City, Chadwick, Green City, Jefferson, Lockwood, and Stanberry for the Class 1 poll. And for Class 2, the state champion Campbell Camels, followed by Salisbury, Norwood, North Andrew, Crane, Lakeland, Wellsville, Middletown, Valley Catholic, Northeast Cairo, and Alton. And Alton certainly was that team that Campbell had to come from behind 20 points early in the second half to knock them off in the sectional round. So the Alton Comets make it there into the top 10. And Hartville on top at number 1 in Class 3, followed by Monroe City, Summit Christian Academy, Greenwood, then Lift for Life Academy, Christian of O'Fallon, Skyline, Lynn, Thayer, and Stratford. Thayer going down to number 9. I believe they did make the Class 3 Final Four, I believe, and obviously didn't come away with it, but Greenwood did make the Final Four and actually did make the top 4 there at number 4, so not every class it looks like they crowned the way they finished in each classification. Now in Class 4, the state champion Vashon Wolverines, followed by Westminster, Blair Oaks, Barstow, Nevada County Central Eagles finishing at number 5, followed by East Newton, Country Day, MICDS, and then Father Tolton, Richmond, and Ava. And in Class 5, Cardinal Ritter, the state champion, followed by Bolivar, Van Horn, Lutheran South, DeSmet, University City, Mexico, Nevada, North County, and Logan Rogersville. In Class 6, Kickapoo, the state champion, followed by Liberty, Chaminade, Fort Zumwalt North, Nixa, Staley, Lee Summit, CBC, that's Christian Brothers College, Prep, and Pattonville, Blue Springs. Those are your final state rankings in boys high school basketball. And let's take a look at the all-state teams. Take a look at the all-state teams for Missouri. And first starting off with Class 1 All-State. These are pretty much for our area. It's not the entire team, but including the ones from our area. Brock Wayfield, Drennan Dinkins, and DJ Prater. That triple threat core there from South Iron making All-State. And also Colby Crater from Delta and Cameron Meesey of the Risco Tigers making the Class 1 All-State team. And Brock Wakefield, the Class 1 Player of the Year, and then Dusty Dinkins, the Class 1 Coach of the Year. No surprise there with those accomplishments there with Wakefield and Dinkins. We saw Brock Wakefield back when he was a sophomore. They had a big clash with Risco over in Bloomfield. If you can recall that game, that was the Class 1 sectional at Bloomfield 2 years ago where Risco defeated South Iron from kind of dramatic come-from-behind fashion late. Had a flurry of points late in the fourth quarter and edged South Iron for that sectional. Advanced on to play Dora in the quarterfinal round, but that was probably one of the best games we've ever done, that South Iron Risco game from 2 years ago at Bloomfield. And Brock Wakefield was a big part of that team there. With the others as well, Drennan Dinkins and Prater as well. So you could see that group going to really put together a great run over the next couple of years. South Iron fell to Dora last year, and I think that was the quarterfinal round or sectional round right before the Final Four. And that was a big clash, and then Dora came out on top and won the state championship. So South Iron's been right there in the mix the last number of years, but finally putting together a great run this year to cap it off with a state championship. And in Class 2, All-State for the boys, Blake Fowler of Campbell, also Charlie Parker of Campbell. Charlie Parker really stepped up his game, certainly in the state tournament. And there in the Final Four, I think he averaged right at 20 points a game. He had a great semifinal game and a great championship game, and that can certainly get you an All-State nod playing great at the Final Four. And he had a great finish to his career. And capping it off an all-state selection, certainly well-deserved, and really stepped up big for the Campbells over in Springfield. And then also we have from Alton, Chandler Cisco, a really talented guard. We saw him play against Campbell as well. He got the nod. And then Carter Hoog from Valley Catholic, very impressive guard from Valley as well. Then Trayvon Thomas of the Hayti Indians getting All-State this year as a junior. He'll be back for another year. And the Class 2 Player of the Year, Blake Fowler. No surprise there, the great run he's had. And, man, the two games, especially the championship game he had, I think they had him down for 26. I believe that was the case from that championship game. And I think he had, 18 maybe in the semifinals. So a great finish to his career. Over 2,000 points, an all-time leading scorer at Campbell now. And he certainly left his mark on not only the season but the Southeast Missouri and Boot Hill landscape when it comes to high school basketball. He'll certainly be remembered for a long time forward. Blake Fowler, one of the best guards we've seen in our area for quite some time. Also, Steve Fowler, his dad, come away with Coach of the Year in Class 2. No surprise there either. Had some great wins this year. Only losses came to some bigger CMO conference schools as well as Scott City. But Steve Fowler's done a great job getting these kids prepared. That's one thing he really focused on coming in this year, certainly beefing up that schedule throughout the year, preparing these kids for a run and seeing it all the way through. Great job by Coach Fowler, and pretty awesome that you can win Coach of the Year, then your son gets Player of the Year, all in the same year, capped off with a state championship. It's pretty special. It's pretty special right there for Steve and his son Blake, and congratulations to them once again. And in Class 3 All-State, we've got Jordan Andrews of Thayer, Rico Coleman, the talented sophomore from Charleston, and Drew Irby from Portageville. Drew Irby's another one of those guys we'll miss from the area. We've seen him over the last number of years. He's contributed a great deal from pretty much his sophomore year on at the varsity level. And if you can remember 2 years back, we were broadcasting over at the Sykeston Fieldhouse in the Class 2 sectional round. Portageville is coming off a district championship over Bernie that we also did at Portageville the week before, winning the district championship over Bernie. Portageville advances on to the sectional round to take on Thayer over at Sykeston, and I believe it was a tie game. Portageville had the gut ball, winding down the clock for the final shot. Irby gets the ball on the right side and drives it, kind of cuts, breaks down the zone, has a jump stop, goes up, about a mid-range jumper, goes up off the glass, banks it in right at the buzzer to give the Portageville Bulldogs the victory to advance on to the quarterfinal round. And that was his only bucket of the game, but came at the perfect time. And Drew Irby kind of created his legend off that shot going forward. And he still had his junior year and senior year to play out over the last couple of years that we saw him. He's had a great run. Certainly his dad, Jason Irby, the head coach, and Drew Irby's had a great run. He's going to be another one of those familiar faces we've seen for so long that it's going to be a shame seeing him move on. Certainly when you come to the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament, get to see these kids 3 and 4 days straight playing at a high level and throughout the season into the conference tournament and district tournaments. It's just fun to see how these kids develop over the years and see how they start to showcase their talents. And he's going to be another familiar face that we'll surely miss going forward. So, it's kind of bittersweet to see kids succeed, but also won't get to see them anymore. But certainly a great run by Drew Irby as well. And moving on to Class 4 All-State, we got B.J. Williamson, the talented freshman from New Madrid, securing All-State in Class 4. Andrew Ellinghouse from the Dexter Bearcats. He's one of those talented seniors. Great senior class at Dexter that had a great run this year. Andrew Ellinghouse has been there pretty much since his sophomore year as well from the Bearcats at the varsity level, and we've seen him quite a bit as well. And he's really had to step up his game, certainly with Andrew having a little bit more size than some of his teammates, around 6'3" to 6'4", right around that. And certainly being about that height early on in his high school career, having to step up and really contribute. His size really made a difference for the Bearcats early on, and certainly with his senior class that he's moving on with. Memorable one here at Dexter. If you can remember that Dexter and New Manor game back in the regular season in January, one of the best games we've ever done here on YHC, and he was a big part of that and a big part of that team's success. And he'll be another one of those familiar faces that we've seen, and certainly in the Bloomfield tournament, Stoddard County tournament, we've seen a whole lot of over the last number of years, and he will move on with his career. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him play some college ball somewhere. He's certainly he's a gamer, always playing over the summer, and really competing competitively. So hopefully we'll see him at the college level. But great run, finished up with an all-state selection for Andrew Ellinghouse. And in Class 5 All-State, Leroy Atkins of Sykeston led the way for the Sykeston Bulldogs this year and winning All-State in Class 5. The only one here locally from Class 5 winning it here in Southeast Missouri. And he had a great run this year. Had a 46-point outing against Campbell. had another 30-some-odd outing there in the district tournament. I think that included the championship game. And, Sykeston was kind of, team that was kind of in the middle of the pack in the conference, Seminole Conference. They took some lumps. They also delivered some as well. They got some impressive victories over the year, certainly in that championship game over at Notre Dame. They won that Class 5 District 1 championship against Notre Dame and won it in double digits. I think it was a 13-point victory for the Bulldogs. They advanced on and lost to North County in the sectional, but that was a team that, peaked at the right time, right at the end of the year, going into the district tournament, and played up to their potential. Certainly did, and they got into the state tournament, just lost out there in the sectional. But Leroy Atkins had a big impact on that season for the Bulldogs, and a great three-point shooter. Man, we saw him fired up from range all year long, and he knocked down a ton of them this year. And congratulations to Leroy Atkins, finishing off with a great run with the Bulldogs this season. And taking a look at Class 6, Isaac Haney, we mentioned that was with Dora last year, making it in Class 6 as well. No one here locally making it to the Class 6 All-State. Now over to the girls in Class 1, Madison Ayers from South Iron, also Kendall Hallwig from Delta, and Bryony Spurgeon from Eminence. And in Class 2 All-State, quite a few here from our area. Katie Webb of Oran, Kaylee King of Ellington, Mackenzie Davis of Neelyville, Amaya Johnson, who was a great talent. We had her. We had the Haytown Holcomb District Championship where she had a heck of a game. I think over 40 points she had that game, and what a year she had for the Haytown Lady Indians. Then Gretchen Hackworth of Ellington, Katie Griffin of Van Buren, and Peyton Reinbott of Neelyville. And Kaylee King of Ellington winning Class 2 Player of the Year, and also David Burrows, the Ellington girls basketball coach, winning Class 2 Coach of the Year. So a heck of a run by the Ellington girls basketball team this year. And in Class 3 All-State from Twin River, that's Abby Hester. And in Class 4 All-State, Olivia Hartman winning from New Madrid County Central. She had an impressive run as well, playing varsity pretty much all 4 years of her high school career, and she will advance on to play some junior college basketball down in Florida, it looks like. So congratulations and good luck to her going forward. And in Class 5, Lexi Rubel, talented player from Notre Dame. We've seen her for a number of years. I think she is I think this completes her junior season, I believe. We remember her from at least a couple years back as a freshman, contributing a lot, and I think she just finished her junior season, I do believe. So nice run for Lexi Rebel so far as well. And those are your all-state selections here locally for those all-state teams, and a whole lot of fun watching these players throughout the year, and certainly seeing our local players and talent crowned as all-state selections. And we had a good core of players this year that really contributed at a high level. And you got to talk about the stress and the stressful conditions this season had. Certainly coming off last year where they canceled the Final Four, or at least the Class 4 and Class 5 Final Four. They did play the Class 1 through 3, but they canceled Class 4 and 5, which really hurt Notre Dame. Notre Dame had a boys and girls team make it to the state Final Four. Did not get the opportunity to pursue that state championship. But coming into this year, certainly back into football season, it got off to a pretty good start. Did have a few cancellations, that sort of thing, but it finished up pretty good. But one thing with football, it's outdoors. I knew it was going to be a lot simpler to pull off the football season than when it comes to basketball in the winter season, certainly indoors. So a whole lot of just kind of anxiety coming into the season, whether we would be able to pull off a full season successfully. And it was pulling off quite well. I know the schools having a hard time dealing with, the certain protocols and preparations they all have to make. Certainly not only for the events themselves, but just having school sessions as well. So looks like it's gone by as well as it possibly could. Had a great season, being able to complete it out, and with the state championships as well. Certainly in those state championships had the limited capacity, and we'll probably certainly see that really step up over the next year or so. So hopefully now the winter sports season is behind us, And now things going outdoors, certainly with softball, track and field, baseball, soccer, those things are going to be a whole lot easier to deal with from a protocol standpoint and preparation standpoint with this pandemic, and just some junior high sports that are inside, like junior high girls volleyball. That's about all there is indoors at this point. But hopefully, we go into the summer and things really starting to turn the corner, and we can really get past this pandemic, or at least get past the worst part of it, and really start to return to what we're typically used to when it comes to high school athletics. Full attendance, packed crowds. That's one thing. We had some packed crowds this year, that's for sure, in some of these contests. But certainly the big venues that we're used to going to, like the Farmington Civic Center, the Bearcat Event Center, and some of these other schools, getting some big venues that are packed out. That'll be fun to get back to. But hats off to all the administrators and teachers, everything that made this sports season, certainly the winter sports season, possible to complete and enjoy. And this, I know when we came into the sports season, I know there's a lot of talk about things around the pandemic, what's important, what's not, what's essential and what's not essential. That was the big thing, certainly when we entered this pandemic. But when you talk about high school athletics, college athletics, talk about what's important, that sort of thing. That sports kind of had a hot topic. It was kind of a controversial. It was kind of hot. It was kind of a hot topic to talk about, whether high school sports or college sports were even that important, and maybe we should do away with it for a year. So there's like, hey, you can get some of those Facebook conversations, and you can really have it out about if sports are important or not, or necessary. But it's a big deal. You talk about these kids that prepare and they compete, and they prepare, compete, and they commit. That's one thing you can't take lightly, is preparation, commitment, and competition. These kids only have 4 years, and certainly most kids only have about 1 to 2 years. Certainly when you talk about the varsity level, when you're competing at the highest level, most kids are only competing at that level for 2 years, junior and senior year. Some are fortunate to do a year or two more, but when you compete at that highest level and competing for, whether it's a conference championship or, making a potential state run, you're competing only for a small window of a couple of years. And these kids are, committed, and they need to have their shot. They need to have their opportunities, just like when it comes for any other activity. I'm not even singling out sports, but that goes for all the other activities that these kids commit to and prepare for. And that's all schools are supposed to be, is providing opportunities for kids to excel in whatever avenue they're choosing. And I think our schools have done a great job in keeping those opportunities alive for our local kids to compete at the highest level they can, and whether it's competing for a state championship or just a local competition that they've committed their year to, and certainly their high school year to. It's important to prioritize those opportunities and make sure these kids have the chances to play out those opportunities. So I'm really proud of our area, Southeast Missouri, and I could probably even say for the state of Missouri as well, from that standpoint, that schools have really committed to those opportunities being available for the kids. Whether there's a pandemic going on, you can make the preparations, you can make the adjustments, just make sure the opportunities are available going forward for all the student athletes. And really proud of all the administrators, teachers, anything having to do with our educational institutions here in Southeast Missouri, keeping those opportunities alive. And certainly for our standpoint, we're able to showcase those events and opportunities for the kids. And certainly a lot of people are looking forward to those each year, being able to watch them here on YHC or attend in person. I know attendance was kind of a difficult deal this year. Some at risk, don't need to be out amongst large crowds, so we were able to bring more of those contests to people in more different ways this year, whether it be online or through television. So a difficult year, but really proud of how everything's gone by, and kept the opportunities alive for the kids out there. So I know it's a little rant. Didn't even plan on that. Just kind of transitioned to it and just kept going. But I'm just really, sports is a big deal. It's been a big deal in my life, and certainly carrying it through here on YHC, and just felt really strongly about that for this year and this school year. So there you go. And we're going to take one little break. We're going to wrap up here in a moment, and like I said, put a bow on this winter sports season, and we'll have our final moments coming up.
We want to make people feel warm and welcome when they walk into this facility.
Being part of a community-based bank for me is the top priority.
It's like you come in here and you're like, everyone knows your name kind of deal, you know? It feels pretty good, you know?
And believe it or not, my kids even look forward to coming up here to the bank. So
I am Matt Tanner.
I'm Scott Kim.
I'm Becky.
I am Dickie.
And I am.
And I am.
I am First State Community Bank.
A few days ago, we had a customer come by the Kent dealership looking for a new truck. I had a really good visit with Phil and our salesman. Phil had his Army t-shirt and Army cap on, retired military. We're so proud of our troops, our active and veterans like Phil. Phil left in his new truck. We all enjoyed the visit. Best price, best service. Glenn saying, God bless our troops.
And welcome back, and wrapping up the winter sports season, certainly with girls and boys basketball that we've covered here this season. Another successful season. This was certainly the most challenging. I know it's tough to go into a week and you just cross your fingers that the games are going to play out like they're scheduled, and for the most part this year they did. I think that winter storm coming in with the snow knocked us out more than certainly the pandemic did. So pretty pleased with this season. And going back to the fall season, I remember going back to the summer, like thinking coming into this school year whether we were going to have sports or not, whether we were going to be able to carry them here on YHC or not. But we went through with our fall season successfully and wrapped up our winter season successfully. So can't ask for much better than that we just had a season and able to bring it to you here on YHC and SemoSportsZone.com, and certainly our Local 95 channel over on Go Semo Fiber. We brought that on this year to join the Semo Sports Zone network, so you can expect that going forward. Our sports broadcast coming from Go Semo Fiber, that's channel 95 on Go Semo Fiber. That's certainly the Scott, Mississippi, New Madrid, and some of Stoddard County rural areas and some municipal areas as well. Certainly if you're looking for a cable provider, if you're a SEMO Electric Cooperative customer, that's where it is. If you're a SEMO Electric Cooperative customer, you ought to contact Go Semo Fiber, and you're eligible for their fiber, internet, their cable television, and that sort of thing. And you'll be able to watch high school broadcasts just like here on the Roundtable and what we brought to you all year. We're going to bring a lot of the SEMO conference to you on that network, as well as Scott, Mississippi Conference broadcasts, and certainly into the fall football season. So, and who knows, over the summer, spring or summer, we might be doing some things as well over there. And certainly here on Sparklight Cable, doing a whole lot, certainly still going forward, doing what we've done here for Stoddard County, Duncklin County, and then even into New Madrid, Pemiscot County as well. So a lot of broadcasts we can bring to you, certainly through the two networks, and we bring them together on our website at SemoSportsZone.com. Still working to get that built out, but you'll be able to watch a whole lot through SemoSportsZone.com through our two television networks. So look forward to that going forward as well. So entering the spring sports season, we're going to continue the Roundtable. We traditionally keep the Roundtable going until the end of the spring sports season. And a lot of times that's like late May. It might be the last week of May when we wrap up the Roundtable for the season, and then take the summer off and come back in the fall as the fall sports come about. So we'll continue here each Saturday on the Roundtable going forward, and hopefully you'll join us, and we'll see you next time. And until then, I'm Tyler Weicker. Have a great day. Have a great weekend as well, and happy Easter next week. Enjoy your Easter holiday and weekend as well.